In today's Leeds news, Leeds want to re-sign Phillips, Batshuayi linked again, details on Russell Crowe investment, FA Youth Cup final details, and under-21s win. Morning folks, Share here, Tuesday morning the 16th of April with your Leeds United news at The View. Hope you're having a good week so far. A few bits and pieces to get through today. Some details on the Calvin Phillips situation, we'll get to that in a sec, as well as surprise links with Batshuayi again, as well as Russell Crowe's investment in Leeds United, some details around that as well. We'll start off though with the Calvin Phillips situation. A week or so ago I put a poll up on the page and on Twitter as well, asking fans if they'd like to see Calvin Phillips return to Leeds United. 60% of people said no. We will rephrase that poll again today. I'll put a new one up. And will you take Calvin Phillips back on loan? Why? Because according to the Daily Mail, Leeds want to re-sign Calvin Phillips on an initial loan should they get promoted. According to the Daily Mail, Leeds have an interest in the player, but only should they get promoted. City have a £30 million valuation of the player, but Leeds would look to get Phillips on an initial loan to see how that goes before making any further moves. The piece says Leeds would be unwilling to pay the £30 million fee that Manchester City value Calvin Phillips at, and or his £150,000 per week contract. Leeds would instead look for that loan, as I said, but only again if they get promoted. Phil Hay has also weighed in on this as well by saying that he would say there is a chance of Phillips returning to Leeds, but again, only if Leeds are promoted. Calvin Phillips played 234 times for Leeds. I saw Joe Wayman this morning on his channel do a piece on Calvin Phillips. I made some very valid points. People saying that Calvin Phillips is washed and can't play in different systems. I would disagree with that as well. He's had a bad run of things at the moment, but Leeds have taken back plenty of players in the past. There was lots of excitement about Alan Smith coming back to Leeds not that long ago. Considering how he left Leeds, Calvin left in a much better way. But if he adds quality to the squad, if he's another squad player that comes in, and again, before anybody says it, who does he replace? Nobody comes in to replace anybody. Look at our bench. Leeds need more depth and quality in depth across the park should they get promoted. Having one central defensive midfielder in Ilya Groove has proven to be a little bit of a problem for Leeds towards the back end of this season, so more options there would be needed. But on loan is the initial one, so that's the caveat here. If you want, would you be interested in Calvin Phillips back on loan? I'll stick a poll in the channel later on. We can have a quick look, see how people feel about that. Obviously, we discounted on the wages as well, so might work. Moving on, Michy Batshuayi cropped up as a link to Leeds United a couple of weeks ago with very little interest shown in the article, myself included. I took it as just being another agent link at this time of the year, but it's cropped up again. But now, according to Star via Sports Witness, Leeds are said to be interested in a surprise move for the Fenerbahce striker Michy Batshuayi. Batshuayi has 41 goals in 68 outings for Fenerbahce since he arrived at the club, and his contract is said to be running out at the end of this season, so he would be a free transfer and seen as a cheap option for Leeds United to add more depth in the striking department. Stars say that Batshuayi is likely to depart Fenerbahce this summer, with Leeds said to be monitoring the situation closely. In total, Batshuayi has scored 204 goals for club and country in his career. Recently, though, he's been in had a few issues. Batshuayi and fullback, also linked with Leeds, Bryce Asai Samuel, were involved in altercation with opposition fans when they invaded the pitch and had to physically defend themselves on the pitch. In that situation, it was a nasty situation, one where Fenerbahce threatened to withdraw from the league as a result of it as well. The striker is said to be keen to exit Turkey this summer. There is potential of a new contract being on the table, but according to Star, they say that the player is interested in leaving Turkey this summer, and after what happened a couple of weeks ago, it's hardly surprising that he is looking to get out. His last stint in the UK didn't go particularly well at Chelsea, although Frank Lampard, when he was managing Chelsea, spoke very highly of the player, his work ethic and his ability. It just didn't really materialise at Chelsea. Could it at Leeds? Remains to be seen, but he has scored quite a lot of goals. I mean, he's averaging over a goal every 2 games currently in Turkey, which is a decent barometer for a half-decent striker, Leeds will need more options up front. Joe Perreault not really found the back of the net as often as he should have this season. Patrick Bamford the same. And all the hopes on young Mateo Joseph's shoulders are probably a little bit unfair for a player as young as he is. So you want to have more options in there so he can help his development, but also help the team to get to where they need to get to rapidly as well. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about some ownership information and details on Russell Crowe's investment in Leeds United have come out, and Russell Crowe has finally revealed some of the details around his recent investment in Leeds United. Crowe had been linked with investments as far back as Massimo Cellino's time at Leeds United, but now he has been speaking about the 49ers situation. He has backed 49ers enterprises at Leeds and given some details on his own investment in the club. Crowe, speaking to Chris Miles, said the following. It came up about a year ago or something when the 49ers family were organising what their future plans were going to be, and so, the thing came down the line. I put a little trust together, and I think the 49ers people, the sports orientated people, they have a plan. It's a very good plan for the city of Leeds, not just the football team of Leeds. And I think, they're going to be very successful. Crowe's stake is said to be a minor stake at this point. But as I said, he did come very close to buying Leeds United around about the Massimo Cellino time. In fact, he said during the interview that he was one phone call away from purchasing the club before Massimo Cellino took over. For those who don't remember the GFH Capital days, that will tell you how little money was floating around at the time if Russell Crowe, an actor, could come in and actually afford to buy the club at that point. Cellino bought the club instead, and we all know what happened there. The chaos that happened for 3 or 4 years. Funnily enough, Cellino's been rumoured with a return to England, looking to try and buy Charlton Athletic, but their fans are, as you can imagine, massively opposed to that happening and don't appear to want to let it happen at all costs if they can. But he's having a look at selling Brescia because if the fans are on his back over there, surprise, surprise, and looking at coming back to England and buying Charlton Athletic. But it'd be shocked if it happened. The FA would definitely not let Massimo Cellino back in the door in England after all the hassle they went through with him. Anyway, let's move on to the last two pieces of today, and we'll talk about the FA Youth Cup final details that have finally been revealed. The FA Youth Cup final details have indeed been revealed, and Leeds beat Millwall to book their place in the final against Manchester City, with the final being held in Manchester. The final has now been confirmed to be taking place at the Etihad Stadium, and it will take place on Friday, May 10th, with a 7 p.m. kickoff time. Leeds haven't won the FA Youth Cup since 1997. And in terms of allocation for the ground, Leeds will be given a 15% allocation for the ground in line with the competition's rules. The game is usually supposed to take place on the 5th of May, but due to games taking place at their academies, Manchester City's Academy Stadium, and with Man City playing against Wolverhampton in the Etihad, there's been an agreement put in place to move the final to the 10th of May. A 15% allocation seems very small for a cup final, considering the Etihad's massive. Man City's first team don't fill that stadium. Well, the U team, you could probably afford to give Leeds a bit more if they could bring the numbers to that as well. But best of luck to Leeds United on the 10th of May. I'm sure everyone will be watching that keenly as well to see the next batch of Leeds young players coming through. Speaking of young players, Leeds United under-21s were in action last night, and they beat Derby County 3-0 to take the points in their recent league encounter. Joe Snowden scoring twice for Leeds, along with a lovely glancing header by Ruben Lapata-White, were enough to give Leeds United the points. It's great to see Joe Snowden back finding the net again. Last season, Joe Snowden looked like he was going to be one of the breakout players for Leeds. Really creative player, can score goals, get assists, good attacking player. Had a few issues this year himself. That's kind of slowed his development down a little bit, but great to see him back. Two lovely finishes by Snowden in that game as well. Highlights are available on LUTV as well if you want to go check them out. But yeah, great. And then Ruben Lapata-White with a lovely glancing header from across, free kick. Another player who's tipped to go far at Leeds, and potentially I think the next player to be possibly rumoured to be offered a professional contract at the club. Very much part of the under-18 setup, and you're starting to see these under-18 players push their way into the under-21 side, and I keep saying that they will make up the bulk of what will be the under-21 side next season, along with probably a couple of signings that Leeds will need to bring in to strengthen that team as well. And folks, that's going to be pretty much it for me today. Massive thanks as always for supporting the channel. There's a little button down below there if you want to subscribe, and yesterday's news videos over there somewhere if you want to click on that as well. Some details there about some rumoured players linked with Leeds again as well. Anyway folks, that's going to be it for me today. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. See ya.